Hello students, today we shall be taking up the poem Childhood by Markus Natten. This has been taken from the book Hornbill, the textbook in English for class 11, the core course. Markus Natten was a Norwegian poet. In this particular poem, he depicts the reality of childhood innocence gradually transforming into adult rationality, hypocrisy, and individuality. He finally concludes the speculations in his mind regarding his lost childhood. Alright, so this is my favorite part. Interpret the title Childhood. I request all my students to do this and they love doing it. So this is important because in order to develop our critical thinking skills, we must think. And when you are interpreting something, you are analyzing something, what are you doing? You are basically thinking. Alright. So if you ask me, let's all do this at our own levels. But if you ask me, I would say the childhood is supposed to be the most blissful period in one's life, as William Wordsworth very rightly said that child is the father of man. Childhood basically symbolizes innocence, purity, and love. Just imagine when you look at an infant smiling, okay? When you look at a young child laughing without just no reason, what do? You just smile back, okay? So childhood is supposed to be the most innocent period in one's life. That is my interpretation. What is yours? All right, so the poetic devices that are there in the poem are as follows. Rhetorical question. It is rhetorical question is asked when the answer is actually not demanded. All right. So when did my childhood go is there in this particular poem. You would have read this line, "What's in a name" by William Shakespeare. This has been taken from his famous play Romeo and Juliet. Then, will no one tell me what she sings, from William Wordsworth's The Solitary Reaper. Then we do have repetition here. We have antithesis. What is antithesis? Antithesis is a rhetorical device wherein two opposite ideas are put together in a sentence in order to achieve a contrasting effect. And then we also have alliteration, which is the occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of adjacent or closely connected words. So let's start with the recitation and simultaneous explanation. The first stanza goes like this. When did my childhood go? Was it the day I ceased to be 11? Was it the time I realized that hell and heaven could not be found in geography and therefore could not be? Was that the day? So the poet begins the poem by wondering as to when did he lose his childhood. He is curious, he is curious. You can sense that curiosity. Was it the day when he lost his childhood? So was it the day, was that the day? This will again be a repetition, you will see that. He goes on to say perhaps it was the day when he ceased to be 11 and realized that the concepts of hell and heaven, which he was taught during his childhood, had no standing in the light of the day. He just could not locate these places in his geography books. So what is happening here? Education has made the poet question his faith and look at the world more rationally. So you can very comfortably and conveniently say here that in the first stanza, the reality of childhood innocence gradually transforms into adult rationality. Second stanza. When did my childhood go? Was it the time I realized that adults were not all they seemed to be? They talked of love and preached of love, but did not act so lovingly. Was that the day? So this is repetition. You can see that now. So the poet recalls the time when the adults around him did not practice what they preach. So what is this called? This is called hypocrisy. Yes. They told him to be loving, caring, affectionate, and on the other hand, they themselves were just the opposite. So perhaps this is literature. You can have your own interpretations, children. And please remember, literature gives us wings to fly. All right, always remember that. So perhaps they were argumentative, violent, and even discourteous. So the behavior of the adults was a far cry from the love that they sermonized about and advocated to the child. Therefore, the child lost his faith in the adults. So, here in this particular stanza, we can say the hypocrisy of adults became evident to the growing child, and according to the poet, that broken trust was one of the major steps towards his adulthood. Third stanza. When did my childhood go? Was it when I found my mind was really mine, to use whichever way I choose, producing thoughts that were not those of other people, but my own, and mine alone was that the day. So in this particular stanza, you will observe there is a lot of my, there is a lot of I. So can you sense what is going on? Yes, individuality. The poet is talking of individuality here. He says that while growing, he realized that he has a unique mind and he could take his own decisions. So he has gained a sense of individuality, and this individuality is going to set him free from a lot of things. For instance, he will be able to cultivate his own thought process. He is not going to be dependent on anyone, and perhaps this is going to set him free from the prejudiced notions of others around him. All right. So finally, we can say that, when his experiences are going to shape his thoughts, he will realize, or perhaps when his experiences have already shaped his thought process, he realized that this might have been the time that he lost his childhood innocence completely. Now here you will observe a difference. Instead of when, we have where. Okay. So where did my childhood go? Now finally the realization has come that yes, it has gone. So now the curiosity is, where has it gone? So the poet says it went to some forgotten place that's hidden in an infant's face. That's all I know. So there is a lot of optimism here, that the poet says that childhood is a lost memory. Okay, do you remember what happened when you were an infant? Do you remember what all things happened when you were just one or two or even three, for that matter? Maybe some of the memories are there in your mind, etched in your hearts, and some of them you live, you relive through the pics and photographs and albums and videos, but finally it has gone, right? So now, not mine, sorry, the poet's curiosity is, where has it gone? So if it has gone, yes, it has gone, so it has to go somewhere, no? So he says that childhood is a lost memory that we can recall. We can recall the fantasies, we can recall the moments which were associated with it, but the innocence is irrevocably lost. So, in this particular stanza, he conveys the idea that innocence of childhood remains only as long as one is an infant. So, in fact, there is a tinge of optimism here, if you, in this particular thought process, that at least innocence and purity of my mind prevails in some form or the other on this earth. So, according to him, that it is a cyclical process. Yes, according to my understanding, the poet is saying that it is a cyclical process and it is gone from one person, or it is, lost. I have lost it, so it has to go somewhere according to him. And I have, it has been, it has gone from one person, it travels to another, finds residence there. So basically, the poet has ended his poem with a tinge of optimism here. All right. So that's all about Childhood by Markus Natten. I hope you liked this explanation. All right. Thank you so much for watching.